celebration of life. Get your daily balances, Kim Jacobs conjure way. We're here to open your eyes, making your day great and your life even better. Say, oh, daily balance, get your daily balance. Daily balance, get your daily balance with Kim.
Hello, welcome to Daily Balance. Our topic today is a difficult one for most parents to even think about and an impossible one to comprehend. We're talking about finding strength to go on after the most devastating of losses, that of a child. How do you face each day? How do you make sense of life? How do you find balance through the pain? Later, you'll meet Yvonne, who has lost her daughter, and learn how she turned tragedy into a mission to build safer communities for other children. But my first guests are the parents of Hope Stout. The story of Hope's battle and her compassion and caring for others sparked an unprecedented outpouring of support. When given the opportunity to have almost any wish fulfilled by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Hope's wish was that the other 155 wish kids in her state would be granted their wishes. Please welcome to Daily Balance, Stuart and Shelby Stout. I'm so glad to have you all. So glad. Thank you. I'm so glad that you all came on the show today. Oh, wow, okay. I know this is so difficult. And I really want to thank you, first of all, for stopping here at Daily Balance, because I believe this story about hope, when I read it, it just touched my heart. My producer, Donna, was sharing it with me first. And then as I learned more and more about Hope, I fell in love with her as a person. And I just want the whole world to hear about Hope Stout. So start by telling us, thank you for coming. And I know it's difficult, but let's start talking about Hope. Tell everybody about Hope.
Well, she was quite a kid. She was the third of our three girls.
Okay.
She was the only redhead. And, of course, being the youngest girl, she knew everything by the time she was 10 or 11 years old. And she was very much of an athlete, a tomboy. The last several years of her life, she just shot up. She grew 4 inches. She became a very good basketball player. And Hope was one that was always instigating things. She was always the ringleader of her group of girls. And all the girls had their special talents and characteristics, but Hope was always keeping people in stitches.
No, that's funny. So she was a comedian.
Always.
Great kid.
How did you all find out that she was sick?
She had just gone through basketball. She had played basketball, and she was going in the 7th grade and thought at that time that it would be the appropriate time to go out for cheerleading. She thought that would gain her some popularity, as most kids in the 7th grade would like.
Right.
So she decided that's what she wanted to do. She had never done any cheerleading in her whole entire life. Her sister was the cheerleader in the family. So we put her in some tumbling classes, and you never say no to Hope.
Okay.
And she made the cheerleading squad.
Did she? Oh, good.
Right after that, she started having a pain in her right knee, and we just thought that she had strained it. So we went to the doctor, and he felt around for about 15 minutes and said, really, I don't think there's anything but a strain. Wrap it, come back in 2 weeks, and after that, if it's still hurting, we'll do an x-ray.
Right.
We came back in 2 weeks, and the x-ray showed something. It threw up a red flag to the doctors, and within a week, we had a biopsy that told us that Hope did not have a strain. She had cancer. It was bone cancer, and it was in her right leg, left leg, upper hip, in her back, and in her lungs before we found it.
It was a very aggressive form of osteosarcoma, which typically grows very slowly and has a lot of pain. Well, Hope she was that kid that had a very high pain threshold, and so we found out later that she did complain to her sisters quite a bit about her knee hurting, and but it was just it was an off the chart type of osteosarcoma, and it literally grew. It was just off the charts. Very difficult diagnosis.
That is unbelievable. So I mean, then they started trying to help get everything eradicated, and
we started off with a very aggressive regimen of chemotherapy, and they told us right from the start we needed a home run with the chemo. It was a very unpleasant situation, and we, getting news like that it's I've never had a bale of hay fall on me or anything like that, but it literally knocked us to our knees, and that's where we stayed. We stayed on our knees with our faith in Christ, and but it was very difficult. I mean, we had to sit and watch our daughter, who's getting ready to go into the 7th grade.
Right.
Now she's facing chemotherapy in a life-threatening situation.
And this is some obviously very bad news as you're finding out that she has this cancer, and you still remain positive. How did you do that?
Well, I think if you've grown up with the faith, and we did, and our parents taught us as their parents taught them, and we taught our children, you have that faith, and you may not use it until you come up to a situation like this, or know you've got it. And we were in control of pretty much all situations in our girls, and you only bring God to the forefront when you lose control, I think. Well, we lost control that day.
Now, was there ever a time that you felt helpless or angry? I mean, because
we're normal people.
We're also both Type A personalities, in case you can't tell. And, so we literally knew where the girls were every second of the day.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we're having to turn over this treatment to these strangers in the medical profession. Angry is not the word. One night in particular, in the middle of the chemotherapy, it was Holly's, our middle daughter's 16th birthday, and we had planned to go to the Cheesecake Factory for dinner, but as so often would happen, cancer invaded our lives and messed things up again. Hope was feeling pretty good most of the day. By the time I got home, she was in a lot of pain, and it was October the 30th, 2003, and I came home and all of my girls were sitting there crying, Hope in pain, Holly upset, not because she didn't get to go out on her 16th birthday, but because her sister was hurting, and Shelby just about at the end of her rope. And
interesting.
And so I lost it. I went out into the garage and I looked for something to beat up or throw around, and I found a hammer. And I did realize that beating things up in the garage would probably not be a very good thing. So I went out in the backyard and just obliterated a pine tree. And I screamed and yelled at God, and it was one of my worst moments as a father. I came back into the house after realizing what I had just done, and there's these 3 pairs of eyeballs looking at me, and Hope said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "Well, Hope, I've been outside yelling at God." And she said, "Well, I'd be real careful about that if I were you." And I said, Hope, you are my child and I'm God's child. And I said, I can't do anything about this cancer. If I could, I'd pull it right out of your body and take it on myself. And she goes, Dad, you couldn't handle it.
Oh.
But her pain went away. We prayed and the pain went away.
I don't know if it was from beating the tree up or from them praying, but probably both of them.
Probably Hope's prayer had something to do with that, not Dad, but he understood his son was hurting.
Right. There were just times when you had to let go, but strangely, even now, that is when I feel the closest to God. It's when He allows me to vent and say these things to Him, because He's letting me in.
You get closer.
Oh, wow. Okay. I know the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Okay, we got to get some tissues. Pardon us. The Make-A-Wish Foundation definitely got involved, and I like to be able to talk when we come back from the break about how they actually got involved. So don't go away. We'll talk more with Stuart and Shelby Stout about the March 4th with Hope Foundation when we return.
You can make it. You just hold on.
Daily Balance with Kim Jacobs is sponsored in part by the Rock Worship Center, Church of God in Christ, located at 1113 Fordham Road, Charlotte, North Carolina. The Rock Worship Center, making disciples through evangelism, exaltation, and edification. For more information, call 704-358-4167 or visit our website at rockworshipcenter.org.
Welcome back to Daily Balance. I'm here with Stuart and Shelby Stout. And Shelby and Stuart, I know that right before we went to break, we were going to talk about the Make-A-Wish Foundation and how they got involved. Tell us how they got involved.
Well, you know, Make-A-Wish grants wishes for critically ill children. They don't. It doesn't have to be a death wish. It can be. It's just if they have a life-threatening illness, and a lot of kids get better. The high school where my two other daughters, the older girls, went to school, had already raised the money for Hope to get her wish. They had done this in the past, and now that the high school had actually had a family that they could help, and they knew they had raised the $5,000. Okay. Hope then had to make her decision on what she wanted for her wish. She wanted to be famous. That was Hope's original wish, and she wanted to be on a walk-on TV show. But she wanted to be able to walk on it. At that time, she was in a wheelchair. She said, I want my wish when I'm better and I can walk on to a TV show. She asked what the other kids did for their wishes and how the money was raised. Well, there were 155 kids on a waiting list. And she said, that's my wish. I want to help raise the money so these kids can get their wishes. She saw through the cancer that she was very blessed because she had her family and community behind her and a church that really loved her. And so she grew up knowing that it was about helping others. So that was it. They came in. We started the ball rolling. She got to plan an event called Celebration of Hope.
Oh, wonderful.
And she wanted a Rat Pack theme, so she planned it all the way down.
A Rat Pack theme. Okay.
That she had seen on Lizzie McGuire.
Oh, good. Okay.
So she already knew that that's what she was going to have, and she planned it down to the tablecloths and napkins. What the gala was going to be. It was set for. This was in November. It was set for January. The event, and she was planning on being there. Unfortunately, she wasn't there.
No.
She passed away 2 weeks before the gala was supposed to be.
Spirit.
She was there in spirit.
For sure.
She got on a radio show. It was a local show. She got on with Keith Larson, and they started talking about the wish. In 4 weeks, it was going to take $1 million for this wish to happen.
For all of the other 155 wishes to come true.
And in 4 weeks, $1.1 million was raised. In that
That's
awesome.
a high five moment on Daily Balance.
4 weeks.
One young lady, Hope,
12 years old.
Stout, 12 years old. She helped make a difference by making sure 155 other wishes came true. Were you surprised by how unselfish she was?
We were a little surprised with how big the wish was, because Hope was like, what's $1 million? In fact, one of the wish granters said, that's a lot of money, Hope. And she goes,
is that a problem?
What's that a problem? It's to her, $1 million wasn't a big deal.
Right.
And she was seeing it through God's eyes and her eyes, and it wasn't a big deal.
Eyes.
And of course, we are adults, and we're going, it is a big deal. So we sprang into action with some wonderful people that had helped us with our golf tournament. And off we went. One of the guys' company wrote a $25,000 check, and then the rest of it. What was really amazing is this is when the Panthers were going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Carolina Panthers. And she had met Kevin Donnelly, who was one of the players on the team. And all of that just kind of swirled into a perfect storm.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And also, I want people to know about the March 4th with Hope Foundation. Talk a little bit about that.
As I mentioned, it was a golf tournament back in August of when we were facing it, and the money left over from that, which was for our family, we rolled that into the March 4th with Hope Foundation. What March 4th with Hope does is we help families with children facing these life-threatening illnesses or injuries with basic financial need. We make mortgage and rent payments, car payments. It comes through the social worker programs of the hospitals we work with. These are typically families who are financially disadvantaged to begin with. We give them about a quarter's worth of relief.
Interesting.
And
That's awesome.
March 4th was Hope's birthday. So
March 4th with Hope.
A very strong command she left us, and God gave to her.
High five moment. Another high five moment.
We have a kid named Hope,
and then March 4th was her birthday.
Yes,
that is so wonderful.
That's why we do what we do.
So how do you deal with the loss?
It's the worst nightmare you can ever go through. But the only advice I can please give to your audience, don't turn your back on God. As mad as you are and as your questions are not answered, and they will not be answered, there's not an answer for why you have to suffer this or why your child had to leave before you. There is no answer. Just trust Him and stay with Him, and He will get you through those storms.
Yeah, He's a big God. He can take any question you ask of Him. Even if you yell it at Him, He can
Please
take
don't
it.
turn your back, because marriages can go south and families can go south, and you don't need to lose anything else.
That's right. So what did you feel
please.
was Hope's purpose?
Her purpose was to give hope to others.
Oh, I'll say.
I think people's purposes are finished at different times in their lives. Unfortunately or fortunately, it only took 12 years for Hope to fulfill her purpose in life before God took her.
But what a powerful 12 years.
It's going to take us to 112
Yes,
to get our purpose finished now, with carrying on and marching forth with hope and giving other people some hope to get through some of these sad situations.
She's put the bar up for us pretty high, so we're staying awful busy.
And you've written a book called Hope's Wish, and that's how one girl's dream made others come true, by Stuart and Shelby Stout. And one poem in here that I thought was very just awesome. I'll read it as we go getting ready to close. First of all, I want to say thank you.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
For coming. I appreciate it so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
And I'm amazed to know that Hope was in the 5th grade when she wrote this, and I'll close with this. In a Heartbeat by Hope Stout. In a heartbeat, a person is gone, and another brought into the world. Life, death, happiness, sadness. To me, it's all a big twirl. Should we expect death? Challenge life? Make the best with what we have? Should we accept our mistakes in every way and sometimes just laugh? What is this thing called hate? In the September 11 attacks, do we all stand up and face our fears so we can all fight back? In a heartbeat, everything can change. Everything can happen in a blink. This is why I wrote this poem for you. And know, and not to let your heart fade out. Do what your heart leads you to do. By Hope Stout, 5th grader at the time. We'll be back with Yvonne Pointer.
Daily Balance with Kim Jacobs is sponsored in part by 5 Links. 5 Links is committed to being in the forefront of the telecommunications industry and offers products and services throughout the United States and worldwide. Services include Global Links digital phone, cellular services, satellite TV, high-speed internet, Global Links Wi-Fi phones, and 5 Links home security. For more information, call 1-800-575-4021 or visit our website today.
Welcome back. You're about to meet an amazing woman who has been recognized many times and received many awards for her tireless work in her community, her state, and now around the world. According to her, one person can make a difference. Please welcome Yvonne Pointer. Hey, Yvonne.
Hey, Kim.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for blessing me to be here.
I'm so glad to have you.
Yes.
And I want the whole world to know about Gloria, your daughter.
Yes.
Tell us about her and what happened to her.
Well, Gloria and I grew up together. I can say it like that. I was a teenage mother, made some mistakes early on in life, but made a determination that she would not fall prey to the ills that captured my life at such a young age. So I was very cautious about the things that she would do and places she would go.
Right.
So we grew up together. So on December 6, 1984, I think I received the parents' worst nightmare phone call that Gloria had not made it to school that day. And it was a particular day that she was going to receive a perfect attendance award.
Aww.
You know, I was very emphatic about, you're going to go to school, you're not going to do these things that all these other girls are doing.
Right.
So everybody was quite alarmed when they called her name at the ceremony and she didn't come up to get the award.
Of course.
So they called me and said, well, you know, it's Gloria's home. I said, what do you mean? Gloria went to school on time.
Perfect attendance.
Right. My first thought was, when I see her, I am going to get her. You know, she's going to get it. And nowhere in my mind was it the fact that her lifeless body was at the bottom of a filthy, nasty, rat-infested stairwell, and that she had been beaten to death and sexually assaulted. It just was not on my radar. So some people have time to prepare for things like that, but some of us were catapulted into that very existence.
And how old was she?
She was 14 years old at the time, and that was December 6th, as I said, 1984, and her case remains unsolved.
You're kidding me.
You know, Kim, a lot of people might look at this show, and I've heard things like that mother is trying to capitalize and get famous because there's been a lot of awards and a lot of recognition.
I know, the biggest
but
giver.
My thing is, there's still a killer loose. And I think that society itself should be concerned about the people that live among us. That if I don't speak out against this, who's going to do it? I was saying to the couple earlier, I spent many years waiting on the cavalry to come and rescue our children, only to find out we are the cavalry.
Wow.
If it is to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me. That's right. So here you have your 14-year-old daughter. She's been going to school faithfully, and on that day, this tragedy occurs. Her life ends.
Right.
And life as you know it then was very different.
Well, you know, we have what we think is our destiny.
Yes.
Our picket fence, our cat, our dog, our husband, only for God to interrupt our plans and say, but wait, I have a purpose for you. And, you know, I don't mean to act as if I know everything that God has in store, but I do know that I have seen His hand on this situation, and many lives have been helped as a direct result.
That's
and
awesome.
You are more passionate and compassionate towards people. You know, it's like if you have a girlfriend that's going through a lot of trouble in her marriage, and you, girl, I would never. You know how you pop your neck, and then you get married to that type of person.
Right.
Now you seek out that girlfriend. You go, girl, I didn't know. So now, when I meet families, I don't care what city you're in.
Yes.
My heart goes out. I feel what you feel. Like my good friend D. Sumner here in Charlotte, where you have a bond because you all feel this pain. It's something that I would not wish on anyone.
I can't imagine, because I haven't lost a child before.
Right.
But I knew that the world needs to be exposed to this, because there are so many people out there that have lost a child, and they're trying to figure out, how do I balance my life after this type of loss?
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because if that's where the story ended, then what would be the purpose of this show?
Yes.
I came to your show to tell people that there is life after death. That